Crispy, Bhagat Singh here today. Hope you're doing well. I was blogging earlier about balance. I've been teaching a lot about it and then bringing a lot more of my own awareness in my personal practice to just balance. It's something that's really easy to encounter in the class on most gross to most subtle levels, every class, every asana, even, so to speak. There's the balance of, the classic concept from the sutras that asanam sukhathiram, that the posture should be steady and yet have a sense of ease. So there's a balance between the ease and the effort. Um, I like to say that yoga is the union of complementary forces, that which sometimes appear as opposing forces, actually complementing. And that's by striking the balance, finding the place in between the two. So I know, sometimes we're just practicing and some days you're just stuck there and it's completely elusive. It doesn't matter whether you've slept well or not, if the mind is clear, you came into it with a great attitude. Maybe you continue with a great attitude as you just fall and fall and fall. Other days, for no expected reason, all of a sudden you're just as steady as can be. You pop into the pose, maybe hang out in tree for a couple breaths is no issue. Some days a posture like triangle can be all about balance. Sometimes it can be all about steadiness. So we know the tricky ones, the trees, Utthita Padangusthasana, the ones where we really challenge our balance specifically, but every pose is an opportunity to play somewhere in that edge. So when we're thinking about balance, a lot of times people think, oh, if I could just balance my life, everything would be steady and easy and great. And it's almost elusive. From the exterior, someone who's really solid in the practice and is in control of their breath and not bringing reactivity into the practice, but just activity and potentially even proactivity, they may seem to be very steady in their balance postures. And yet, if you really examine them closely, there's an enormous amount of micro movement and detail and auto correction and continual adjustment in the pose. So it's often interesting because I would belie to you that static and balance equal the same thing, that something being steady is actually more on the verge of being imbalanced than something that's in an active flux state, always kind of trying to seek the center line. So maybe in balance you recognize that even on the steadiest days that you can really appreciate the foot, the contours of the foot rolling to the edges, the arch lifting, the toes gripping and releasing, the knee and the ankle continuing to adjust. How fantastic this is actually for our articulate skeletal and muscular system to give it this little bit of refining workout, but how excellent of a metaphor it is that in life we're never at standing still. It's like continual adjusting of the sails and looking for the sweet line, tacking a little bit here, finding the ebb and the flow. So that's kind of where I was at with balance. Thinking about it, playing with it in the practice, and then thinking about how that pertains in my life. The last thing I want to leave you with is some of the things I like to say when teaching balance, or like to think of as little mantras. And one is that hold the breath, hold the pose doesn't work that way. The breath has to be steady and continuous in balanced poses. It's actually the tether that allows you to sway just a little bit, like a boat that's been tied to the dock. You never leave the dock, you just move a little bit in the tide. The tether keeps you connected. And the second is that little bit of swaying energy. It's the supple willow that survives every storm by bending and swaying in the wind and allowing the natural movement to be expressed all the way from the roots to the extremities. It's the solid hickory or oak that just stands there and bam, one strike of lightning fells it, because its solidity, its stability is actually the beginning of the end of balance. So consider that as you look for balance in your life. And give thanks and praise. Namaste.